Before anything else, before the unraveling, before the truth, before the storm that tore through the seams of my life, there was rain. Not gentle rain, not the kind that washes the city clean. No, Chicago was in one of its moods that evening. One of those December nights where the sky felt low enough to sit on your shoulders, and the air bit hard enough to remind you that hope wasn't fireproof. And I, like an idiot, parked outside Melissa's building with a stupid, fragile kind of optimism glowing inside me, small, flickering, like a matchstick in a hurricane. I'd left work early, cleaned the passenger seat, wiped down the dashboard, even picked up her favorite overpriced chai from that pretentious riverside cafe she claimed made it just right. The kind of drink that cost more than gas but tasted like forgiveness. I came with peace offerings, with effort, with intent, because God knows we needed it. Weeks of tension, weeks of silence stretched thin, weeks of laughing at different times, sleeping on different sides of the bed, speaking only in practical sentences. But tonight, I thought maybe tonight I could fix something. I watched the lobby doors through the fogged windshield. The heater hummed like a tired lullaby. I felt ridiculous, like a teenager waiting for his crush, but I didn't care. For the first time in a long time, I wanted us back. Then she walked out, Melissa, my wife, my partner of 9 years. Wearing the black trench coat I bought her last Christmas, the one she saved for days when she wanted to be sharp, untouchable, certain. Her heels clicked like punctuation marks across the wet pavement. Her hair-tight bun, immaculate, told me she'd been pushing hard at work. She always wore that bun when she wanted to appear unshakable. I reached for the chai cup. A smile tugged at my face. And then everything derailed. She didn't look around, didn't check the sidewalk, didn't even glance toward my car, though she walked so close she could have reached out and touched the mirror. She passed me 2 feet away, not a flicker of recognition. But recognition wasn't the part that gutted me. It was the car she walked toward, a sleek black BMW with tinted windows, not a ride chair, not a friend. Not a coworker carpool, Calvin's car, her boss. His face appeared for only a second when the door opened, but that second was enough. He leaned toward her, said something too soft for the world. She laughed. Something inside me cracked, no sound, just pressure. The chai cup snapped in my grip, hot liquid spilling into my lap, soaking my jeans, burning my skin. But I didn't feel the heat. I only felt the cold. They pulled out first. I followed, not close enough to look unhinged, but close enough that I couldn't pretend I wasn't watching every move. Rain hammered the windshield. Horns blared around me. My heart beat wrong, like it was struggling to keep up. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she needed a ride. Maybe God help me. I was inventing shadows where there were none. But then, at the next red light, Melissa reached across the center console and touched Calvin's arm. Not a graze, not a polite touch, a familiar touch, a touch that meant something. Something in me snapped so fast the world didn't even have time to catch up. I cut them off, hard. Tires screamed. People yelled. Rain splashed against my face as I stepped out of the car into the storm like a man whose fear had finally caught fire. Calvin stepped out too, arms wide like he was negotiating with a wild animal. Melissa's voice cut through the rain, low, sharp, annoyed. "Are you serious, David?" It was the tone that broke me more than the words, not fear, not guilt, just irritation. Like I was inconveniencing her, I pointed at my car, "Get in." She didn't move now. People on the sidewalk had stopped walking. Phones lifted, faces watched, but all I saw was her face blank, emotionless, like I wasn't her husband. Like I wasn't even someone worth reacting to. She brushed past Calvin and got into my car, and I, drenched, breath-shaking, followed. We drove in silence, a silence so thick it felt alive, one that didn't ask to be broken, a silence that knew it owned us. When we finally reached home, that silence followed us through the door like a third presence living in our walls. She showered, went to bed, turned away from me, and didn't ask a single question. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Why did you follow us?" Not, "What happened back there?" Nothing. Like she'd rehearsed the indifference. Like she'd been living in this emotional distance far longer than I realized. The next morning, she ate toast, scrolled her phone, acted like the night before was a dream she didn't bother remembering. So I asked, "Is there something going on between you and Calvin?" Her scoff, her casual, dismissive scoff, stabbed deeper than any confession could have. She denied, dodged, deflected, told me I overreacted, told me I was controlling. As if I hadn't just watched her slip into another man's luxury car, without a shred of hesitation or awareness of the husband, parked right outside her building. Her silence said more than any denial. That day, after she left for work, I watched the dashcam footage. And the video cut deeper than reality, the smile on her face, the soft way she touched his arm, the ease with which she got into his car. The familiarity, the softness, the comfort. It wasn't the car that hurt, it was her face. It was the version of her that I hadn't seen in months. The softness she didn't show me anymore. That was the moment everything inside me shifted, not shattered, shifted. Rage cooled, fear hardened, love twisted into clarity. I wasn't crazy, I wasn't insecure, something was happening. So I called Rachel, our mutual friend, someone in HR, someone who knew the undercurrents, the rumors, the whispers behind closed doors. And when I showed her the footage, her reaction wasn't shock, it was confirmation. "Oh," she said quietly. "That explains a lot. Rumors, complaints, whispers of inappropriate behavior from Calvin, all buried, all dismissed, and Melissa's name, it had floated through the shadows twice. That was the day I filed the complaint. Formal, documented, time-stamped, a paper trail that couldn't be burned without leaving smoke, but the company didn't send smoke. They sent silence, no violation found, 3 words, cold, sterile, surgical, and then came the messages. Unknown number, let it go. Unknown number, walk away. Like a threat wrapped in corporate politeness. Melissa, she was ice that week, not angry, not guilty, just distant, like she'd already packed emotionally and forgotten to tell me. Then came the explosion, the argument that had been simmering beneath the surface of our days. She accused me of humiliating her, blamed me for filing the report, told me I ruined her reputation, told me I didn't understand her career, her ambition, her sacrifices. And maybe I didn't, but I understood betrayal, and I understood avoidance, and I understood when someone was protecting a man instead of their marriage. I turned inward, started to dig, started connecting dots, rumors, hidden complaints, deleted threads, stories buried under corporate polish, and then I found the announcement, the annual summit gala, a grand ballroom filled with executives, press coverage, cameras, investors, glittering lights, perfect smiles, keynote speaker, Calvin Brooks. The man who walked my wife to his car in the rain, untouched, unquestioned, untouchable, and Melissa's department was helping run the event. She was going to stand by him publicly, professionally, maybe emotionally, while the company rewarded him with applause. That was the moment something settled inside me, not rage, not despair, something colder, sharper, clearer. I wasn't done, not yet, not by a long shot. The elevator doors trembled again, not because of the machinery. Because of him, because he was no longer just a voice in the speaker. He was moving. Somewhere in the basement, the place she rarely visited, the place she once joked was practically obsolete. A man she had fired without a second thought was climbing through the infrastructure of the building she owned but never truly understood. "Stay with me." The man whispered over the intercom, his voice lower, calmer, frighteningly steady. "I'm almost there." Emma pressed her back to the cold metallic wall of the elevator, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Almost where?" she whispered, "right under your feet." A single overhead light flickered, the elevator hummed, then went silent. Completely silent, like the entire building was holding its breath. She placed her palm over her mouth to quiet herself, as though he could hear her heart beating through the steel. The speaker crackled again, a cold wash of static filling the small space. "You know." The man murmured, "I used to look at this elevator every morning when I arrived. I used to imagine what it must feel like to be important enough to ride it, instead of taking the stairs. Please." She whispered, "You don't have to do this." The static paused. A long inhale echoed through the intercom. "You took everything from me," he said in one sentence, one moment, one signature. I was doing my job. No, he said softly. "You were playing God." Silence again, but not empty silence, purposeful, calculated, heavy. Emma slid down the wall until she was sitting on the cold floor, her knees to her chest. The CEO, the powerhouse, the untouchable symbol on every recruitment brochure. Now a trembling woman in a metal box. "I have a daughter," she whispered, voice cracking, "just like you. She's sleeping right now. She thinks I'm home in a few hours, if something happens to me." His tone shifted, disturbingly serene. "Now we both know what it feels like to worry about a child." Another jolt ran through the elevator. This time harder, a shudder, a thud, metal grinding against metal. He was inside the elevator shaft. "Stop," she shouted, scrambling to her feet. "You're going to kill us both." "No," he said. "I'm going to finish what you started." The intercom cut off. Not faded, not glitched, cut off, dead. Emma's breath hitched. She stared at the speaker as if it might suddenly revive and deliver some final mercy. Nothing. The emergency light overhead dimmed to a deeper, blood-orange glow. Then, a metallic clank above her. Another. He was climbing down the maintenance ladder on top of the elevator. Slow, deliberate, steady. She backed away until she was pressed against the opposite wall, hands trembling uncontrollably. Her trembling fingers brushed against the panel of emergency buttons. A spark of desperate hope flared. The phone, the alarm, the door override. She smashed the alarm button. A high-pitched ring blared through the shaft, but no reply followed. She slammed the call button next. Static, a hiss, nothing more. Come on," she screamed, pounding the panel. Then a new sound, a screwdriver scraping metal, above her, right above her. She looked up slowly, dread freezing the breath in her lungs. The ceiling panel, the one only technicians accessed, was beginning to shift. A sliver of darkness peeled open. A single fingertip curled around the metal edge, not frantic, not rushed, just claiming. Emma stumbled back, gripping the railing as her knees threatened to give way. The ceiling panel lifted, not fully, just enough to reveal a shadowed outline. His voice drifted down through the gap, almost gentle. "You always looked down on us from up here. Interesting view, isn't it? Please," she whispered, tears pooling. "I didn't fire you for personal reasons. I had numbers, percentages, reports. It wasn't about you. It was everything about me," he said softly. "Because you never even learned my name." Her breath stopped. He was right. She hadn't. He was one of hundreds. One of the faces she rarely saw, like background architecture supporting her corporate kingdom. "What do you want?" she asked. The screwdriver clicked against the metal again. "I want you to listen," he said. "For once in your life, really listen." The ceiling panel fell open fully with a loud metallic clatter that made her scream. His face didn't appear. But his boots did. He was lowering himself down the ladder attached to the wall of the shaft. The elevator was now lit only by the dim emergency glow, casting long shadows across his figure as he descended. She pressed herself into the corner, shaking violently. "You can let me fix this, Emma," he said quietly as he reached the halfway point. "Or you can make the same mistake again." Her voice broke into pieces. "What mistake? What mistake did I make?" "Not caring," he whispered. He dropped the final 2 feet and landed silently inside the elevator. The doors were sealed, the walls unbreachable. The space too small for escape. For a long moment he didn't move, neither did she. The elevator hummed faintly again, as though awakened by his presence. He stepped forward once, the sound of his boot echoing through the tiny box. "Do you know what I did after you fired me?" he asked quietly. She shook her head, unable to speak. "I sat in the parking lot for 3 hours. My daughter called me, excited, because today was her school recital, and I realized I couldn't even afford the uniform she needed for it." His voice cracked for the first time. "I told her I'd be there soon, but I didn't go." Emma covered her mouth with trembling fingers. "I went home," he continued, "and I stared at the termination paper, and I thought maybe she'd be better off without a father who keeps failing her." Tears rolled down Emma's face. He stepped closer. You humiliated me in front of people I spent years working beside. You stripped me of dignity, of purpose, of hope. Emma shook her head violently. I didn't know, I never meant. But you did, he whispered, and now you will understand what it feels like to lose control of your life in an instant. He walked to the panel and pressed his palm against a hidden latch, a latch only a technician would know existed. The elevator jolted downward. Emma screamed. The elevator was moving, but not to a floor, to the basement, the abandoned level he had come from. The lights flickered again, plunging them into moments of total darkness between pulses of amber. You can still stop this, she cried. You can still walk away. So can you, he whispered. The elevator stopped so abruptly she nearly fell. The doors opened with a groaning hiss. Darkness lay beyond, cold, vast, silent. He gestured, after you. She backed away. No, no, please. He stepped inside the elevator again, closing the distance until he was inches from her. Not touching, not threatening, just present. Emma, he murmured, fear is the only language you ever respected, so now I'm speaking it. Her breath shook. What do you want from me? He exhaled slowly. A truth. She froze. A truth about what? She whispered. A truth about why you fired me. She blinked in confusion. Numbers, cuts, budget, and no, he said softly. You know that's not the real reason. Her chest tightened. I saw the footage. He continued, the footage from the 15th floor, the part of the argument you thought the cameras didn't catch. Her blood turned to ice. The argument with your board chairman, he added quietly. The one where he ordered you to fire someone immediately to make an example, to remind the others who held the power. She felt the walls closing in. He leaned closer. You picked me. Her lips parted in horror. It was true. It was all true. He held her gaze. Say it. She shook her head violently. I can't say it. He whispered, or we don't leave this basement. Her pulse thundered. Her throat seized, and finally she broke. I fired you because you were convenient. She sobbed. Because you were quiet. Because you wouldn't fight back. Because I panicked. The elevator echoed with her confession. He closed his eyes, breathing once long and slow. When he opened them again, something in his expression had changed. Not forgiveness, not vengeance, understanding. He stepped back, turning toward the open basement. You're going to walk out of this elevator, he said softly. You're going to go home to your daughter. You're going to remember what it feels like to be powerless. And tomorrow, when you sit in your corner office, he looked over his shoulder. You're going to change. Emma stared at him through trembling tears. And if I don't, she whispered. He met her eyes, then pressed the reset switch on the elevator panel. The doors began to close. He stepped backward into the darkness of the basement. Then he murmured, disappearing into shadow, you'll see me again. The doors sealed shut. The elevator rose. Alone, silent, carrying a woman who would never again see the world. Or herself. The same way,